Have you ever been afraid to talk in a meeting with upper management? Have you felt the heartbeat in your eyes before actually bringing out a single word? Have you ever gotten promoted so fast that you were afraid that someone will notice that you don't really know what you're actually doing? If you think that sometimes fears are holding you back from showing up as your best self at work, which means that you're not getting the promotions and salary increases that you probably could, then this episode is for you. Hi, and welcome to this episode of the Corporate Warriors podcast. My name is Fela Rosa, and today we're going to talk about the different fears that can hold you back from the career success that you truly deserve. So, first and foremost, fears are normal. Fears are great, actually, because they helped us survive. Now, do we need fears in a corporate boardroom? I don't think so, and I think you agree with me. However, we do encounter fears there pretty regularly. So it's very important that we treat the topic and make sure that you don't have to stay with your fears, but you can actually overcome them. So let's go to some typical fears that you could have that are hinder your true career success. You could have a fear of speaking up when something is wrong because you're afraid of being seen as a naysayer. You could have just in general have the fear of speaking up and looking dumb. You could have the fear of setting boundaries and being afraid that this might lead to a reduced career speed. You might fear communicating in meetings. You might fear not knowing enough or being educating enough and being exposed for that, which is also called imposter syndrome, as we probably all know. You might be afraid, and there can be a fear of giving negative feedback to colleagues or your even employees. And there's obviously the big fear of losing your job and the fear of negotiating. Ooh, big one. So many people are afraid of negotiating. So let's dive into it. Why does it matter? We all know that facing our fears is scary because literally we are afraid of facing the fear. So the fear of something is one thing, but then the fear of the fear, we are already afraid going into the meeting, thinking about the fear of speaking up, even though we're not even in the meeting yet. So it's being afraid of the fear itself. And I've been there. So yes, I know how it feels like to feel those intense fears. But the great thing is once you start overcoming them little by little, it's like a muscle that you build. You'll learn that no fear is too big for you to overcome. And knowing that and actually experiencing that will make your entire life better because you can finally feel at ease. Imagine you overcoming one fear. Let's say fear of speaking up in a meeting. You go through the whole process, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in detail. And once you make this great experience, you spoke up in a meeting, even though you were so afraid. And you get great feedback on that from your manager, from your colleagues, from whoever. How do you feel after that? Do you just feel proud like you normally do when you do something that you're not afraid of? I guess not. I guess you're skyrocket proud, right? You're so proud because you know how hard that used to be for you once. And poof, all of a sudden you have this one positive reference experience, this one experience that is the counter proof to everything that you believe to be true in the first place, for everything that you needed to believe in order for that fear to actually build up. So me personally, I do not believe in pushing through. I've done it myself too. I've been in those meetings where I had to give very negative feedback. It was a big round and it was very hard to not say it in a negative way. So I tried to formulate it in my head like 20 times before I even spoke up. And then I had to raise my hand because it was in a big round. And then I had to actively, say what I wanted to say without stepping on anybody's feet, but still making the point. And I can tell you, my heart was pumping until here. I think I was going to pass out at some point, but I did it. I said it. And it was so good because at this situation, I was helping somebody else. And I could see how they were looking at me. I was helping them so much by just giving my 2 cents in this specific situation that it was all worth it. And I felt so proud of myself after that. I didn't need any feedback. I've seen it in this person's eyes. And I knew that this is the way to go. It just felt so right. And I would have regretted it for the rest of the week if I hadn't said what I had to put. So personally, I did push through. And yes, it does work. So sometimes, depending on how huge the fear is, pushing through can be okay. But Overall, that, in my opinion, is not the way to go. Pushing through creates even more anxiety and makes you super uncomfortable. It makes your nervous system go nuts. It can get you into fight or flight mode and, create even more anxiety through that. So I think that we can all be better colleagues and also better leaders if we're free of emotional and irrational triggers, which fears sometimes are as well. We can make better decisions and stand up for yourself, for ourselves, and for others. And last but not least, going through that and dissolving your fears will make you an amazing role model, not only for your colleagues, but also for your private environment. If you're a mother or a father, you want your children to learn from you, and you want them to understand that they don't have to be afraid of their fears. Once they feel fears are coming up, there are ways to actively dissolve them and then go through it with ease. So what to do about your fears? First and foremost, as always, do not just keep them in. Do not try to make them a secret. Don't tell them your boss. Your boss doesn't have to know what you're going through, or your employees. But talk to somebody in your private realm. Talk to somebody that you trust, right? The people in your close circle. It shouldn't be your secret. Making it a secret is making it worse, actually. Then second, journal about it. Journaling is a very, very, very powerful tool. And ask yourself the questions that Brian Katie came up with, and they're so powerful. They're basically narrowed down 4 main questions, and I'm going to give them to you here. And whenever a new fear is coming up and you feel this fear, go through those questions one after another and journal the answer about them, right? Write them down and let your thoughts come out through the pen and paper, okay? So the questions are, first, what are you really afraid of? Like, really? Are you afraid of talking? Or are you afraid of looking dumb? Okay, because very often when we're afraid to talk, we're afraid to look dumb, for instance. Right, so go behind the first impression. What are you really afraid of when you don't want to talk up in a big room? Then second, can you be sure that this is exactly what's going to happen? Like, can you be sure that if you talk up, people will make the conclusion that you are stupid? Or is there also another option? Right? Is there another option? Might what you say be neutral? And people be like, okay. Or might it be amazing, a great point? And people might be like, oh my God, I did not think about that. Thank you for your contribution, right? And keep you in mind next time they might reach out to you for feedback. So the first question was, what are you really afraid of? Or what am I really afraid of for the journaling? Second, can I be sure that this is really what's going to happen? The thing that I'm afraid of. Third, can you be 100% sure? Sometimes our brains try to trick us and we're like, yeah, I'm sure this is going to happen. And then again, ask yourself, can I be 100% sure? Can I be 100% sure? 100%, not 99.9, 100%. Can I be 100% sure? Next, what are you impeding in your life and career if you keep that fear? What is definitely not going to happen if you keep that fear? I can tell you what's not going to happen. If you cannot speak up in front of management, you're not going to become a manager. Full stop. Not going to happen. What else are you impeding? What else are you holding yourself back from if you do keep the fear? Next question, who are you without that fear? What person would you be if you didn't have the fear? And how would the new version of you without that fear get better results for yourself, and what effect would it have on you and your others, right? So try to imagine it. You, the same person, same knowledge, same appearance, but without that fear. Who would you be? You would basically be a new and improved version. You would be yourself 2.0, okay? And what would that mean for you in your career? What doors would open because of that, or thanks to that? What would you notice about yourself? And then think, what would others notice about you that probably they cannot right now because you are holding yourself back with your fear that is probably very irrational? Okay, I admit, more than 4 questions. That was not on purpose. I'm so sorry, but they just came in. Okay. More than 4 questions, but very important questions. Write them all down. They're also here in the bio, in the caption. And then take it really, really seriously. Take this topic of fear seriously, because your lives give you challenges only the size that you are able right now to handle and to go through and to evolve through, right? So take it as an exciting challenge. You recognize a new fear that you didn't know you had. Wow, where does that come from? What is there that I need to heal for that fear to dissolve? And who can I become by dissolving that fear and by evolving, by going into that next incarnation, let's say, or like this next evolutionary step of myself in this world, in your life and in your career? And make the decision. Do you want to stay stuck where you're right now and let the fear win and take over your life and your career? Do you really accept that? Is it something that you want? Is it why you're here on this earth? I don't think so. I can tell you straight away, I don't think so. 99% of our fears are very irrational, especially if you're living in a first world country. And if you feel like this fear is too big for you to handle on your own, for you to handle it through meditating, through journaling, through figuring it out on your own, then reach out to somebody like me. I'm very happy to help you dissolve your fears, obviously. I'm happy to help you. And by the way, this might even be paid by your employer as a career coaching approach. So just that you know, like and subscribe the channel, and I'm happy to see you next time.